It is often remarked that no one person's testimony can ever be considered fully reliable, especially when it concerns anomalous phenomena. But as the number of witnesses to an event increases, the probability that all of them are similarly delusional quickly diminishes. Nowhere does this apply more than to the case of the Phoenix Lights of March 1997. Thousands of witnesses saw gigantic triangular formations of lights drift across the state of Arizona and over top of the city of Phoenix. The case is widely regarded as involving the greatest ever number of witnesses to a single UFO event, and it forces us to consider the possibility that UFOs, whatever they are, occasionally want to be seen. The earliest sightings of the so-called Phoenix Lights were actually well outside the city of Phoenix. At 6:55 p.m. on March 13, 1997, a man in Henderson, Nevada saw a V-shaped object the size of a Boeing 747 over top of the city. A little more than 20 minutes later, a former police officer and his family watched a strange cluster of red lights near Paulden, Arizona, drift low on the horizon. Others in neighboring communities saw similar lights and structures, including a crowd at a Little League baseball game. Many said that the object was the size of multiple football fields, and nearly everyone reported that it was completely silent. Descriptions of these lights vary, as do the descriptions of the formations they maintained, leading many researchers to suspect that there were multiple objects moving over the area that night. Most frequently described was a triangular or boomerang-shaped object with lights clustered along its leading edges, although not all witnesses reported a solid structure. What's more, the lights were often seen to reorganize themselves into different formations, or break off from the main formation and veer off on their own flight paths. When reported, the structure connecting the lights was typically described as gunmetal gray. Despite some variety, most sightings involved a large V-shaped formation of 5 to 7 amber-colored lights that glimmered like moving water and cast no light on the ground beneath them. The object was most often reported as being roughly 1,000 feet from the ground. This was the object that appeared over the city of Phoenix around 8:30 p.m., when many residents were already sitting outside in anticipation of the passing of the comet Hale-Bopp. The object glided over the treetops in a generally southward direction across the city. It hovered for 4 to 5 minutes over an intersection north of the downtown core, then passed through the airspace of Sky Harbor Airport. Several air traffic controllers saw the object, as did at least one commercial airline pilot leaving the runway. The object did not appear on radar, however. The object passed south over Phoenix, then followed Interstate 10 southeast towards Tucson. One family reported that the object passed directly over top of their vehicle. The wings of the V extended so far in each direction that the two children seated in the back of the family station wagon could see each tip from opposite windows. Witnesses in the city reported that the object simply vanished from sight as it passed over a mountain range. The last report of any lights that night came from a man in Kingman, Arizona. Approximately 7 hours after the incident, an alleged airman at Luke Air Force Base, several miles west of Phoenix, made an anonymous call to the National UFO Reporting Center in Seattle, Washington, to allege that his base had responded to the sightings. He claimed that the Air Force scrambled 2 F-15 jets, one of which intercepted the object as it hovered over the intersection in Phoenix. The anonymous source claimed that the pilot's radar returned only white noise as he approached the craft, and that all lights on the target dimmed in unison and then disappeared before the jet could get close. Another witness who had reported his sightings to the Air Force Base claimed that the operator admitted to having been deluged with calls about the object that night. However, the Air Force changed its tone completely the following day. Newfork contacted senior officers from Luke Air Force Base who denied any knowledge of the incident and claimed to have received no reports of unusual activity. They launched no investigation. Government and media seemed uninterested as well. News coverage was minimal at first, and the Phoenix City Council declined to act on any requests for an investigation. Councilwoman Frances Barwood was the only councilperson to seek an explanation after being inundated with calls from concerned citizens. For this, she was stonewalled by officials at all levels of government and was widely ridiculed in the media. Things changed when USA Today brought the story of the Phoenix Lights to national attention. The newfound media interest intensified public frustration with the lack of response from government, prompting Arizona Governor Fife Symington to call a press conference where he claimed to have apprehended one of the culprits. Symington had his chief of staff escorted to the podium in a rubber gray alien costume, before declaring that everyone was taking the UFO incident entirely too seriously. Symington's response elicited public outcry. Barwood was deluged with more than 1,000 calls from angry citizens. Although she personally interviewed only 700, she estimates that there were possibly as many as 10,000 witnesses to UFO activity on March 13th. Barwood sent a letter to Senator John McCain, who replied with an admission from the National Guard that there had been several high-intensity flares dropped in the area between 9:30 and 10 p.m. This was true. Many had witnessed these lights as well, and later, video of them emerged. However, news media outlets have mistakenly presented this footage as capturing the original V-shaped object, despite the fact that it was taken more than an hour after the last of the sightings. In 2000, the citizens of Arizona filed a class action lawsuit against the federal government, demanding an explanation for the events of March 13th. The U.S. District Court ordered an investigation from the Department of Defense, which failed to turn up any evidence. Still, the district court judge concluded that a reasonable search had been performed, and dismissed the case. This was the last action from any government authorities on the issue of the Phoenix Lights. Public and media interest dropped off until the 10th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights in 2007, when Symington admitted that he too had seen the craft over top of Phoenix, which he described as self-evidently otherworldly. The governor has since enlisted the help of journalist Leslie Kean and filmmaker James Fox to apologize for downplaying the incident and admit his inability to get any answers from higher-ups. Symington attended a press conference organized by Kean and Fox in 2007 and advocated a globally coordinated investigation of the UFO phenomenon. UFO debunkers have claimed that the Phoenix Lights were nothing more than a formation of planes flying low over the state, and that an optical illusion had caused people to imagine a structured craft between them. This explanation makes little sense, however, in light of the fact that the craft observed over Phoenix made no noise at all and moved at a speed too slow for planes to stay airborne. Other debunkers have attributed the sightings to a mass delusion, although there is really no support for such a phenomenon in the scientific literature. The case of the Phoenix Lights lives on in UFO history as boasting the single highest number of simultaneous witnesses. The striking similarities between these disparate accounts rule out the possibility of attributing all anomalous sightings to individual human perceptual errors. Whatever level of fallibility we assume on the part of human witnesses, the Phoenix Lights simply had too many to leave any doubt that they saw what they believed they saw. This massive body of UFO witnesses compels the US government to provide an explanation it has so far evaded, and invites the scientific community to take the UFO phenomenon more seriously. Perhaps when the next mass sighting occurs, we will all be more receptive.